but says essentially that nobody must declare the results tomorrow. Of course, he says there's no rush to declare results, as over 20 parties have raised objections with the IEC about the election process. Of course, there you see those visuals there, that press conference concluding. So in the main, the party is not happy with the way in which the elections have been conducted by the IEC, saying that there are some major and serious irregularities conducted by the IEC, despite, of course, the MK party performing well, in these elections. I mean, the 6-month-old party is currently sitting at third position after the ANC and the DA at 14.59%. Of course, I'm still joined by my colleague Mzwandile Mbeje, who is the head of the politics desk at the SABC. Mzwaya, of course, earlier we heard from the party spokesperson, Ndlela, saying that the MK does not recognize these results and has engaged their legal team, and they actually don't want just a recount, but a re-vote. I mean, what do we make of this press briefing, particularly as they also involved other parties, tonight?
Well, we are certainly in uncharted territory when it comes to the results, since we've been running the results as a country. So this is quite interesting. And what is even more interesting is that the IEC will be having an opportunity in the next few minutes or maybe an hour, I don't know, they just postponed their briefing because of the briefing that has been ongoing now. So they will give us an indication what exactly will happen in terms of those objections or those complaints that have been submitted to them. So what is their take? The fact of the matter is that this is something that we are not really used to, and the fact that Umkhonto weSizwe came and changed quite a lot of things in terms of the political situation in the country does indicate that I think a lot of things will go quite differently.
And it's interesting because you're saying that the IEC will still have that press briefing. I would imagine they would want to respond to what was said during this press briefing. You will, of course, recall earlier this afternoon, the IEC having to push back their press briefing because the EFF was having its, press briefing. And in that press briefing, the IEC would not take questions, but rather wanted to make a statement. I recall the IEC chairperson, Mosotho Mepa, allaying fears, just about the IEC's processes, saying that the Commission has been running fair and transparent elections for years. Of course, just talking about the fact that they know that political parties are aggrieved by certain issues and they are looking at those particular issues. But I mean, the commentary that we've heard now from Jacob Zuma saying, in fact, what is the rush? We want 2/3 majority. There are a number of issues that we want to fix in this country, including poverty for our people.
Yeah.
I mean, at this late stage, what does that do?
I guess, that I think the Constitution basically says the results must be declared at least within 7 days.
Absolutely.
I guess the IEC still has a few days to maneuver if, let's say, they are to accede or look into the issues that they've raised. I mean, the elections were on Wednesday, so I guess if you count, I think another Wednesday would probably constitute 7 days. But we've never got to that situation. As I've said, this is an uncharted territory.
Definitely.
So for me, Unati, let's hear what the IEC really, which will have an opportunity, is saying. But perhaps beyond that, I think the party has made it clear that it wants to change the country. And I guess these are some of the elements it is introducing, because every time, as much as they speak about the process, they keep on referring to the fact that they want to change the country fundamentally from what it is. So I'm not sure if, let's say, the recount will produce anything different. Perhaps if there are serious difficulties that the IEC was faced with, I'm sure, because it's provided for, we can go for a recount and then see what happens, so that we avoid a situation where someone says, so they were robbed. Because, I mean, a rerun, I think, would be a bit more difficult, so to speak, but of course it can be done. And then we have to follow certain processes. I know that the former president says, what is the rush? But we have to follow certain processes. Remember, after the declaration, as the leader that spoke for the small parties said, so certain processes do kick in, and I think that's where they are going. And the court processes, from what I'm seeing sitting here, will start to ensue, because the IEC, I guess, will want to also defend its position where it feels it has to.
I mean, what is the symbolism of just some of the parties that were in the room with the MK party? I mean, we heard there from Colleen Makubela, Sarah, president, she described herself. I mean, they've got 4,752 votes in this particular election. She, of course, is a former member of COPE and, of course, the former speaker of the city of Johannesburg. But I'm asking this question because we know, of course, the former president, Jacob Zuma, had indicated that they will hold dialogues with various political parties moving forward, even before the election. We, of course, know that other political parties are having multi-charter parties and also, you know, having discussions outside of that. But what do you make of these particular parties? I mean, some of the parties that were in the room and that have laid objections or put forward objections are, I'm just going to name a few: ACT, ACDP, COPE, UDM, Shiluva, PA, and Al-Jamar, of course MK, and ATM. But I know that there are other parties like Rise Mzansi, for instance, who have lodged objections too, but they are not on this list. But, you know,
I guess the nature of objections and what they seek to achieve is perhaps different. But also what I saw from this list, outside of the Patriotic Alliance, maybe ATM to some extent as well, most of these parties, in terms of the numbers, they're very, very low. I am not sure if it would be material to the outcome, because some of the numbers are very, very low, unless there is massive fraud that is recorded. I mean, some of the parties have just about 5,000 votes. So clearly, if you will have to do a recount around 5,000 votes, if that has to be corrected, that will mean massive fraud. And I don't think that is what they are alluding to. But of course, every vote counts and everyone must have their opportunity to feel satisfied. So the PA, which has done exceptionally well, in fact, we were saying earlier, the parties that are seen to have really have been big winners here is the MK party and the Patriotic Alliance. Absolutely. So they are both there. So perhaps it will then indicate to other parties that are smaller to say, yes, we are part of this, but will it be material in terms of the outcome?
Absolutely.
I guess we can't take anything. Everyone has a right to really put their side and be satisfied. And I'm sure once they are satisfied, they'll be able to live with that. So the IEC should provide answers to this.
Absolutely. The balls are now in the IEC's court. And of course, we'll wait for that press briefing.